I need my kayak inspection sticker. The real test of a quality kayak is really, it comes down to this, the Dolphin Kayak Inspection Seal.
Hey, bud.
So anytime I get a new kayak, I first take it out on a maiden voyage and then I set up a rigging to-do list. Here it is. So you're looking at the Pelican Strike 100. It's in the back of the truck and we're getting ready to do some fishing. We're going to be taking it over to Matlacha, which is an area of a lot of flats and mangroves. And we're going to see what we can get. But mostly we just want to test it out and see how it handles. We've tried it before it was rigged and it handled beautifully, as you can see in the videos with the dolphins. It handled some offshore fishing even. But we wanted to see how it handled fully rigged. So what we did is we actually expanded the rod holders, and I'll show you those here. The rod holders are made out of just PVC pipe. So we have our flush mount rod holders that came stock, and what I did is I actually put pad eyes on the rod holders so that they act as leashes. You can see the pad eyes right here. I then took some tarp bungee and that just holds the PVC pipe in. I happen to use 1 1/4 inch PVC. A lot of people will go up to 1 1/2. For the actual rod holders, they wouldn't quite hold 1 1/4 inch PVC in here, so I had to do 1 inch and then go to a fitting that would convert it to 1 1/4. And so then I have a T fitting, and then I have a cross fitting and another cross fitting, and then back to a T fitting. And then I ended up taking just regular 1 1/4 inch PVC pipe. I cut it to the length that, basically a desired length, whatever I decided. I believe it's 12 inches though. And then I ended up taking a bottle and I heated up the end of the pipe and I put the bottle in the end, and that flared the end out. What you can also do is you can actually take a jigsaw after that and cut a notch in there, and that will make space for this right here on your reel. So that's just a look at the rod holders. Pretty easy to do. I've done a lot of them. You guys can actually even look at some of my other videos. I've gotten a little bit carried away even with them at times. I had solar lighting on mine and I had a bunch of other stuff on some of my past ones. This one here, I wanted to keep it nice and simple and lightweight, because that's what I love about the Pelican kayaks so much, is they're ultra lightweight, and I didn't really want to get away from that. You guys will see that I have a different seat on here. Not so much because the previous seat was uncomfortable, it was more or less just because I wanted to see if I could do it. So the other seat was actually just fine, it didn't bother me at all. The other seat is still there. What I did is I just basically found a skipper seat, and I believe this one came from Walmart, so it was pretty cheap. I think it was like 25-30 bucks or so on sale. And so I got this, and then what I do is I take bungee and I just wrap around the webbing and around this metal piece here, and it holds it on there, and it doesn't feel like it's gonna go anywhere. So that's how I put a different seat on. You know, some people will get fancy and they'll have it where it drops into the scupper holes. I don't like to do that if I don't have to, because it just causes unnecessary wear on the scupper holes, and that could lead to a leak down the road. Got my gaff here. That's just me anticipating that, you know, something big might actually be on my line at some point today, but I have been proven wrong, and sometimes I get skunked and I don't catch hardly anything, so who knows. I don't have this in at the moment, but this is the rod, or the netting that I use. The net, I just slip into here and it stays out of the way. And then last but not least, I have the anchor pole set up. So the anchor pole, you'll see it as quite the mounting setup. What I wanted to do is, I didn't want to have it on the side of the kayak, I wanted to have it on the back. And in order to do that, there wasn't a whole lot of mounting options for me. So I kind of used the area that was for the rudder. On the back of this kayak, they actually had indentations here on where you could mount a rudder kit. Well, I wasn't going to purchase a rudder, so I decided I'd use that area to put some L brackets. And then I took some cutting board from Walmart and I cut it to make a plate that sat on the L brackets below. And then for added strength and flexing, I added some chain. And so the chain just helps with adding support, because this does flex a little bit. And I knew that it was going to do that. But it hasn't proven to be an issue. I've had fast current, I've dropped the anchor, and I've had it stop on a dime for me, so it works. But you're probably wondering, how does this box work? Well, if you look over here, you'll see we got 4 black rivets, and then there's a hole, and that's where this paracord goes through. The hole has the hole is about the size of the paracord, maybe a little bit bigger. But in the inside of this casing is a pulley. Let's take a look inside. So here is a look inside the electrical box that we use to build the manual anchor pole setup. That pulley there is actually an exit block pulley, and it can be found in the sailing section in most marine stores. We also will have a link in the video description below for it. We used tri-grip rivets to secure it. And here's a look at the fiberglass shaft that we used. We simply took a stainless steel pad eye and we ended up tying paracord to it, and that goes through the box and through the pulley and out. Now it's time to test the rigging out on the water. So the anchor pole did a great job at keeping me in place. The current was actually quite quick. You can't really see it too well in the video here, but in no time I could get caught up in the mangroves. So having that anchor pole really helped. Right here I'm just doing some fishing. I decided to try my luck at some topwater lures, and I kind of cycled through a variety of tackle. The fish just didn't seem like they were biting. It was a full moon last night, and that's not necessarily the best time to be fishing. This area here had great structure, and usually I go to this spot, but today it just wasn't happening. You can see a lot of the bait fish, and I saw even some larger fish, but they didn't seem hungry. The reds, the snook, the snapper, they just weren't biting. So the seat worked well and was very comfortable. The rod holders worked great, and even the anchor pole. Can't wait to get out on the water again. So out of all my friends out on the water, this one here seems to be the most temperamental. We're not that close. I mean, literally in proximity. We try to keep our distance. Don't try to get as close to him as I do the dolphins. The dolphins are a little friendlier. This one here is a little bit grumpy and unpredictable.